warm welcome to the first of 5 days of broadcasts at STHLM+50 Climate Hub, brought to you by We Don't Have Time and UDP together with their partners. My name is Katarina Rolfsdotter Jansson, and I am your host, together with my dear colleague, Nick Nuttall, and also Shweta Chakraborty from our US office. So Nick, what are we looking forward to this week?
Yeah, well, apart from working with you, Katarina, again, which is absolutely wonderful, I think we are going to see an amazing show for the audience here in the studio, but also the millions around the world watching on digital TV, of innovators, of leaders, of companies who are absolutely committed to achieve the goals of the Paris Agreement through joining the UN Race to Zero. And what you're not going to see on this show are some of those companies out there who some might call the Vladimir Putins of the climate challenge world, the ones that don't want to make a change, are just thinking about greed and causing unbelievable damage to the future of every man, woman and child. So they're not on the show, but the others who are taking the action, they're on our shows.
Indeed.
Thanks.
So the 5 days ahead of us will shed light on the biggest climate and environmental challenges facing humanity. And this is 50 years after the first UN Environmental Conference took place, right here in Stockholm. So we'll focus on highlighting, like you said, Nick, solutions.
Loads of them, yeah.
And how to scale them. And the first session today is about climate initiatives, and we have some very exciting news here to share with you. Reaching the Paris Agreement requires a faster, broader, and also global implementation of more sustainable solutions. We are in the middle of an energy and also an industrial transformation, changing our current and traditional ways of operations. And in this transition, new technologies are being developed and many are already available. The industry is ready. Now we need to collaborate cross-border to make this happen. One recent collaboration is between the two titans of Swedish industry, SSAB and Alfa Laval, and how they can push the boundaries and lead the transformation on a journey globally. Steel production makes up 7% of CO2 emissions. This can change. SSAB has taken a strategic decision to lead the transformation, and their upcoming fossil-free technology will be a breakthrough for the industry as it transitions to more sustainable operations. It is now my pleasure to introduce Eva Pettersson, Executive Vice President and Head of Research and Innovation, SSAB, to share her insights on this topic. And here she is. Well, a warm welcome to you, Eva.
Thank you very much.
So, Eva, you have the floor, and you can just fire away.
Yes, you said that we globally, the steel industry emits 7% of the carbon dioxide. In Sweden, it's 10%, and it's my company. So making steel from iron ore with the current technology, using blast furnaces and carbon to reduce and make the iron ore transfer into steel, it's actually a chemical reaction. So we realized that this needs to change. We cannot make more efficient the system that we already have. We need to do something different. So we partnered up with Vattenfall and LKAB, the energy provider with fossil-free electricity, and the iron ore company LKAB, to make a hydrogen breakthrough iron-making technology, and it's completely new. It uses hydrogen instead of carbon. We emit water instead of carbon dioxide. It will potentially, when we are transform the whole company, be 10% for Sweden and 7% for Finland.
It's massive, really.
Yes, yes. And I think it's possible with the value chain approach that we now have with LKAB, Vattenfall, and SSAB. It's not possible. And now also with partnering up with Alfa Laval, we can show the world that this is actually possible. We can do this. And I have a proof of in my hand that we can make it happen. And 2016, when we started to talk about this, the rest of the steel industry said it's impossible, it doesn't make sense, it can't be done. And now we're showing that it can. And with products, together with Alfa Laval and other partners, we can actually inspire the whole world. That's how I feel.
Wonderful, Eva. Well, thank you so much. And now I'm going to hand over to Thomas Möller. He's Executive Vice President, Alfa Laval, and President of the Energy Division. And here he is, Thomas Möller. Warm welcome.
Thank you, Katarina.
Excellent. So, Thomas, could you talk a little bit and introduce Alfa Laval and how your solutions are part of this big energy transformation?
Sure. So, first of all, Alfa Laval is a market leader in producing heat exchangers. And heat exchangers is used to heat and cool different fluids and gases, and it's really around the world. And these heat exchangers are going into process solutions for our everyday life. So it goes into the transportation sector, in the marine industry. It goes into food processing, and it's also heating and cooling of homes, our offices. Even this building we have here, with the climate we have in here, we have a number of heat exchangers in this building. But they are hidden, so they are not known to many, but they really matter to most. And they are impacting a lot of billion of people year in and year out. And since they are hidden and people haven't seen one, we thought we would bring one today. So that's what we have over here. So this is a heat exchanger, and this is a specific size. They come smaller, they come bigger. They can be so big they can't be in this room. And there are millions of them in the world. And I think it's just absolutely beautiful. And now you think he's a bit nerdy, but I'll tell you.
I agree.
You agree?
And it's heavy. It was really difficult getting it up on stage. It's a big, heavy machinery here.
This is some 350 kilograms, but
Indeed.
they come in many, many tons also. So why I love this beautiful unit is we're also part of the energy sector. So we are in all those applications. So we talk about energy efficiency, the new clean energy landscape, and so on. And these units are really enabling it. If we look at just the units we sold last year, that is equal to 50 gigawatt of energy savings. And if we then take also the service of the installed base and making them sure they are clean and fit for duty, it's another 50 gigawatts. And 100 gigawatt, what is that? How much is it? And if we just look at the number of wind turbines being deployed last year, which was a record year, it was 90 gigawatts. So I get goosebumps. I mean, that's amazing that we have an energy efficiency where we save energy. We don't have to produce it. So that's actually the greenest energy we can have. So I think that is pretty amazing, and that's why I think it's a beautiful piece of equipment. And of course, don't get me wrong, we need a lot of wind turbines. It's not, so we need a lot of renewable power, but we also need to save the energy and recover the waste heat we can, and there's so much available.
And Thomas, I know Alfa Laval has a target to be climate neutral by 2030. And of course, how does the steel that goes into these machineries, how does that play in this part?
Yeah, so you can say our contribution to the Paris Agreement and the race to the net zero is very much about putting equipment out and helping customers and processes being much more efficient. But it's of course also to get our own house in order. We cannot get away from that, and we don't want to. And we have put up a very ambitious target of, as a company, to be carbon neutral by 2030.
That is ambitious. We like it. We need ambitions, high ambitions indeed. So Thomas and Eva, how about we watch a video to explain a little bit more about how this works?
Yeah.
Alfa Laval is a leading international company on heat exchanger technologies, and that is in many industries. So it's heating, cooling of homes, it's waste heat recovery of a lot of industries, but it's also into the new energy landscapes with solar energy, wind energy, turning that into new types of power, hydrogen production and energy storage.
SSAB is a steel producer. Sweden, Finland, and North America. We are niched within high strength and wear-resistant steels. We have for a long time worked together with our customers to utilize the premium specialized steels that we have, making our customers' products lighter, stronger, and more sustainable. In January this year, our board made the policy decision to look into speeding up our transition. transforming our strip product system completely in the Nordics, doing the transformation to fossil-free steel.
So we are very excited about the SSAB partnership. This is about going into action mode. This is about making things happen. Two big industrial companies in Sweden together that has an international impact, both on the fossil-free steel and employing that into heat exchangers that goes into a very versatile number of industries. That is pretty exciting.
In order to save the climate, we all need to work together. We cannot sub-optimize within different parts of the value chain. Two Swedish companies with high sustainability ambitions can work together to inspire worldwide with this new technology.
So we have our Concept Zero, where we want to have the heat exchanger being produced in a carbon neutral way. And a heat exchanger consists of a lot of steel. At the same time, we have the steel industry being responsible for 7% of the world's CO2 emission today. So if we can get fossil-free steel being produced and at the same time putting that into heat exchangers that is delivering such an energy efficiency boom, then we have some magic going on. It will bring us towards our own targets and ambitions, but of course also have a major impact on society.
Applause, indeed. It's now my pleasure to introduce Emma Modé-Viking. She is Head of International Sustainable Business at Business Sweden. And Emma, you are right here.
Right here.
Wonderful, wonderful. So Emma, what does this partnership really mean for Sweden internationally?
Well, I mean, this is big, it's important, and it's extremely fantastic, I must say. Congratulations. Thank you. And this is exactly the kind of partnerships that we need and the world is requesting. And to have two industrial large companies, cross-sector, join forces to collaborate in the race to zero is absolutely fantastic and what we need to see more of. And I must say that I'm a little bit extra delighted to be here today, as I've had the opportunity to have a little tiny part of this history behind the partnership, as we a few months ago gathered in Glasgow during COP26, when we from Business Sweden gathered some of the most front-running companies in Sweden to showcase that the transition is possible and that it also brings a lot of opportunities. Talk about the opportunities, talk about solutions in place and the importance of scaling these solutions worldwide. And during COP26, we gathered some of the companies for a dinner where you and your colleagues had the opportunities to then further develop and discuss this partnership. And now, just a few months later, it's only 7 months later that you officially, publicly announced this partnership. And I think it's absolutely fantastic to see the transition, how quickly it goes, but also how the private sector is driving this transition, especially here in Sweden. We see that that companies cross sectors, also cross borders, are teaming up, join forces to collaborate and innovate new sustainable solutions and innovations. And this obviously only needs to scale. And this is where our colleagues at Business Sweden are working to, first of all, ensure that everyone knows of these solutions and try to ensure that these are reaching foreign markets and where their climate impact and your climate impact can just accelerate. So I think this is just a fantastic milestone once again in where we're heading towards, and it's key in the green transition. And it's not only very important for the transition here in Sweden. We have the aim to become the first fossil-free welfare nation by 2045. The fossil-free welfare nation by 2045. And this solution is key. It's not only innovating new technologies, but also the way we produce. And the impact that your collaboration can have in Sweden is fundamental. But then imagine when we're scaling this globally. It's mind-blowing, really. And I must say that Sweden, yes, we are a small country, but we have a potential to create a large impact worldwide. And we not only need to take the lead and showcase that transition is possible, but actively supporting other countries in their transformation to become fossil-free and circular. And I must say that this is exactly what we're doing once again, to try to match-make global climate difficulties and challenges worldwide, to match-make that with Swedish solutions. And at Business Sweden, we're trying to act as some kind of a climate Tinder and a matchmaker, if you want, between climate challenges and sustainable solutions, including yourselves. So I can only emphasize and stress the importance of this collaboration, and also congratulate you and also the world for this fantastic partnership. And we're really looking forward to help you and support you to scale this globally and work together.
A perfect match right in front of you.
Yeah,
right?
A perfect match.
The Tinder worked.
The climate Tinder
worked.
climate Tinder
It
worked.
was a match.
It was a perfect match.
So Thomas and Eva, what does it really mean to have two industrial companies with deep roots into the Swedish ground to be working together, setting an example? I mean, what ripple effects can this have on other companies and also countries?
I think for us it's so important to get more of these heat exchangers out. They are 50% more efficient than traditional technology. So we need to get that out. But we also need to have it carbon neutral from day zero. So during the 30 years lifetime, they are contributing a lot to the environment, but also day zero, so during the whole production. And when you look at the unit, there is of course a lot of steel in it. So to reach our carbon neutrality by 2030, we need fossil-free steel. And that is really what we are getting through this partnership here, and having SSA be breaking down traditions and thinking in new ways, and through the hybrid technology, getting access to that is fantastic for us.
And also the partnership means that we now, during the R&D phase, up until we have this commercially available in 2026, we can work together in what kind of steel, what is the demands on the steel, what is the characteristics. We understand that the new technology doesn't change how we make steel downstream, how the characteristics of the steel, but how could this unit be even more maybe effective? Yeah. And that we have now time to work together. And I think, we're talking about Sweden, I think we have a great history of collaboration. And I've said it before, you said
engineering and collaboration.
Exactly, and we can't, working in silos and we can't make it happen. It doesn't become as optimized as it actually can be if we look at the whole value chain, the whole, I mean, in a holistic view. And I think Sweden is good in that. We are good at collaborating, it's important.
So getting back to the question of inspiration and setting the example here, what do you think this partnership can do in that aspect of inspiring other companies that might be slightly unexpected to sort of tinder away?
I think we can show not only that it's technically available and possible, we can also show that there's a market for it, that there are customers willing to pay for this and to kind of have this as a premium product. I think that is also a very strong thing to show.
And I think the whole race to net zero, it is, you can do a lot of things on your own, but partnering up with other companies that have the same vision, the same ambition levels, and also want to go into action mode where you really complement each other, and the joint expertises are just bringing the magic that was impossible as two individuals. That is where the beauty comes. Then I think we have also to be very careful about partnerships, because we could have 5 times more, 10 times more partnerships than we have today, because everybody wants to partner up. But it's not a branding exercise. It's not about marketing. It's really the partnerships that click, where you can go into action and share the longer-term vision, because we need action now. And that's the kind of partnerships we are seeking, and that's what we found here. So, yeah.
Excellent. Let's watch another movie or video. So how can we ensure that this is just not going to end by talk? I mean, really, really getting it out there. How do we make sure that this is really happening for sure and reaching customers all over the world?
No, we are doing this now. We are already in the phase of our first blast furnace site, which is Oxelösund, and transforming that. And we also now are looking into actually accelerating our transformation so that by 2030 we would have closed all our blast furnaces in the Nordic system. And we are in the planning phase. And this is a proof that we technologically can do it. And now we are also starting to plan for the building of this new system. So it's not talk only.
I wanted you to say it because, I mean, I knew this, and most people that are on the sustainability field are following you closely, but for the world to know that this is actually happening.
Yes.
It is not just talk.
No, it's not just talk.
So, Thomas, in terms of your products, this timeline, can you share that with us again?
Yeah, so we are already, after this partnership was signed, we are in dialogue with a number of customers, key customers already in different industry verticals. And people are really excited about it. These industries are also looking for solutions, and so they can walk their talk. And it's very encouraging for us. I cannot share more about these customers today, but during the autumn there will be a number of releases. And this will be real commercial deals, real technologies that will go out in the real life and make a difference. And the plan is to deliver these already next year. So it is happening.
And the potential or the capacity of reducing the greenhouse gases, could you repeat that again, please? You said that over here before. Because
Yes.
I think it's worth repeating.
So if you look at the whole energy efficiency, take that alone as one area and look at how much carbon emission reduction we need to get to reach the Paris Agreement. 40% of that has to come from energy efficiency. And that is technologies we have right in front of you here that is delivering that. And it's not like we need much more innovation, a lot of breakthrough or scalability and so on. We are mass producing this already. And like I mentioned, 50 gigawatts last year on just the new sales of equipment.
So if you would compare 50 gigawatts to something else, just to paint a picture for the viewers.
Yeah.
What kind of emitter is 50 gigawatts?
So if you say to create 50 gigawatt, it's also a lot of CO2 emission that we say, right? So that is 25 million CO2 tons of CO2, and that is equal to Paris, for example, 10 million homes. So
the city of Paris, the emissions of the city of Paris.
Yeah, in 1 year.
In 1 year.
And we have sold this for many years.
So this is a fantastic innovation, and it will soon be available in fossil-free steel.
Yes, that's what we want,
Yeah.
and that's what we will do.
Terrific. So Emma, final words from you, and actually a question also to Eva and Thomas here about the importance of what you're doing for the companies and with the companies to get this to really fly all over the world.
I mean, I think the most important message is in order for us to decarbonize the whole world economy, we need, I mean, if you don't do it now, if you're not a part of the race now, you will no longer exist. So by bringing these pioneering companies together and showcasing to the world that these innovations are in fact in place and these partnerships are happening, I think the biggest contribution that we can have is, once again, not only to showcase that it's actually here, but to ensure that they're reaching foreign markets so that your climate impact can accelerate and also multiply it worldwide, and that we can continue having these matchmaking processes and also spur new collaborations cross-border and cross sectors across the world. I think that's definitely the largest impact and also the contribution that Sweden can and should have, considering our long history of collaboration, innovation, and sustainability. So I think this is the largest impact we can do and what we are striving to at Business Sweden to continue driving forward to.
So Eva and Thomas, you very often hear it doesn't matter what Sweden does because China is emitting massive amounts of carbon. What do you say?
Yeah, the answer to that is that, I mean, we can only take care of our clean our house, and we can hope that we can be an inspiration and we can show that it's also possible, and that it kind of makes also good business, not only a huge environmental impact, but also good business, and that then the transformation will kind of spread. That's what we can do. I mean, and as I said, when we started to talk about making steel in this new way, using hydrogen instead of carbon, the steel industry didn't believe that it would be possible. Now we have shown that it's possible, and if you look at the goals of many steel companies today, they have this as a kind of final, this would be the vision. This is where we need to strive for. We need to, there are other kind of possibilities in other areas of the world, but this would be kind of a good way to go. I think, again, inspiration and show that it's possible. That's what we can do.
Indeed.
I think the biggest risk with that is with the passive thinking. What China is not doing that, and they are not. Then you become passive and you kind of give up, right? And there's not one silver bullet that will fix all this. Everybody have to contribute, and we have to show the way, inspire people, and so on. And I have also been inspired being in China on a number of business trips and so on. So it's not like China is not doing. They also. Heavily looking into walking the talk, right? So we have to get into the action mode, and we have to inspire others, and that's what we are doing.
You are indeed. Well, thank you so much for joining us here on stage, and thank you so much for showing this big, heavy, beautiful machinery, and for doing what you're doing together. It's truly inspiring and groundbreaking and important. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So for those of you in the audience, we have a 30-minute break now in the broadcast. So stretch your legs or grab some coffee or talk to each other, and we'll start again at let's see, at 10:32. We now move on to a fireside chat about market-driven regeneration, where we focus on how the global B Corp movement demonstrates the collective power of business to take bold and urgent action on climate, using advocacy, collaboration, and also corporate action to stop emissions, draw down carbon, and build just and inclusive companies and communities. We have with us 3 generations of entrepreneurs, business leaders, all practicing market-driven regeneration, and they shall share very diverse examples of value propositions, all harnessing power of business to address some of society's most critical challenges. To kick us off, it's my pleasure to introduce Pedro Tarak. He's co-founder of Sistema B, the Latin American sister organization to B-Lab, a non-profit organization changing the global economy to benefit all people, communities, and the planet. So please give Pedro a warm hand.
Thank you. Is it good?
So Pedro, I'd like to ask you to frame this conversation here, and also the notion of market-driven regeneration. So you have the floor.
Thank you very much. The first thing I'd love to share is that I'd like to honor those who actually created the conditions for Stockholm 1972. So that's my first need, because thanks to them is that we're here. Now, many things have happened since then, and I'm sure this week we'll speak about that. I was just wondering, you know, in 1972, I had hair. In these 50 years, many things have evolved in our mindset, and I'd like to share 2 evolutions, at least the ones that I see. One, that suddenly, 50 years later, we're starting to think that innovation can take place in this new logic of a market and new logic and DNA of business, the B Corps. And 50 years ago, our logic was that if we wanted to achieve large-scale results and changes, we had to put our efforts in politics. Left, right, center, whatever. Today, in addition to politics, we have the possibility for 125 million businesses in the world to evolve towards a new genetics. And we also can every day make commercial decisions. And that's something that it's the most numerous of all decisions of human beings on a daily basis. So what are those elements? The first element has to do with solving problems. Climate, loss of biodiversity, reduction of inequality, poverty throughout the world. And that problem can become the mission statement of our companies. And that's what we maximize. It's not profit. We maximize the solutions through profit. So that's one element. At the same time, we're bound to create value for the workers, for the customers, for our suppliers, for the environment, the long and the short-term impacts, and we can measure the integrated impact of a company. And the third element is that we protect the administrator, that means the management and the board, for balancing the interest of the shareholders together with all the stakeholders. And this we can do every day by ourselves. You and I start a business and we can agree on that. And we change the articles of incorporation and we take basically the solution to the core business. I come from the regeneration business movement. And in Guayaki, it's an energy drink. It's natural, organic. What we do is we have life regeneration as part of our core business, and we measure how we regenerate the forest in South America by selling our own beverages. And we also, at the same time, pay from 40 to 60% more the market value of yerba mate, which is a native tree in the Atlantic forest. So the more we sell, the more forest comes back, you see? Why? Because as someone of my age, I've seen the forest going away because of industrial agriculture. So as we saw it going away, we can also see it coming back. As a shareholder of that company, I can tell you, Katerina, the results before the pre-COVID, because everything is pre-COVID or post-COVID. But anyway, more than 60,000 hectares, or the size of Paris, that has been regenerated thanks to this market-driven regeneration. But at the same time, over 1,300 families, indigenous families, and campesino, peasant farmers from the landless movement in Brazil, returning back to their community and building the sense of community with self-sufficiency, with land tenures, titles. And of course, as a shareholder, I must say it, I didn't ever try to get such a return. But in 6 years of my investment, I had a 600% increase of the share value. So it's business in all respects, but it's business for the world. B Corps are more than 5,000 today. And today you have from over 170 industries in over 80 countries in the world. And it's a very powerful movement. It's like the Trojan horse modifying or mutating the genetics of business. But thanks to that, all the other market players also start thinking how they will innovate and mutate their system. Thank you.
Wonderful. I love the Trojan horse image here. So, Pedro, how can more companies become planetary stewards?
Well, first of all, personally, I think it's mostly not only about being responsible to what's happening to all of us, right? But being responsive. So it's going from responsibility to responsiveness, including the ethics of responsibility. Once you become responsive, then the problems become your opportunity to innovation. So once you have these companies, what happens in, you know this in the market, there's a new differential, right? So it's a new logic of competition. Rather than excluding each other, then it becomes a contagious movement of, hey, I also want that. And I also want the B certification. And I want to be part of that movement. I want to be part of the pioneers, you see? And we want to be part of the history of evolution of the economic system by, just sharing our example. And that has created many, through commercial relationships, many new processes of, towards the certification by new companies throughout the world. And of course, trade is fundamental as well, because trading locally and internationally helps, others to say, hey, but what kind of company are you? So the same conversations that you have as a B Corp, by measuring in an integrated manner your impact on society and on the planet, those are the kinds of conversations when you actually have the deals, you see, in a commercial relationship. So that kicks off new processes. If you have large companies, then, the large B Corps actually trigger many, with their supply chain, many, new ways of relating. So it's a new conversation through the market mechanisms. Mm.
So what would you say is the primary accelerator for this process?
You mean, well, you have external factors and you have internal factors. The external factors, I think we're all sharing it. You see, today we're all, going through the climate crisis, the loss of biodiversity, but also concentration of power in very few hands. And this is not resilient as as human project or life project on Earth. So the external factors actually are combined with the expansion of our consciousness, you see, as human beings, because we're all evolving in different levels, in different ways, but it's going from the me to the me, us, to the me planet, right? It's an expansion of consciousness. Now, at the same time, in my understanding, the levers for this acceleration are basically the fact that, being 125 million businesses, suddenly we have a new space for hope. And people need hope. And suddenly thousands of people are saying, hey, I don't need to wait for lobbying Parliament, although I know that's very important and we need the regulations, of course. But at the same time, we can do it together. You see, we can do it as private individuals and we can be part of those solutions. This factor is, for me, what's expanding the most fastest way of the movement, but also of other impact companies, because this is about everybody being part of this, I don't know, this process. I always use the word this party, because the moment that you feel, the enthusiasm that there's a new space to act every day, then you suddenly become really, contagious in your enthusiasm. And I think it's time, even with the data that we get, because this is something that we get all throughout the world, right? The data doesn't seem very, well, it's not the basis of our optimism, but that's not practical if we want to live life with joy and optimism. So in my view, you see, for the first time, we have a new space to create public goods.
Well, thank you for sharing your enthusiasm and your knowledge. Would you please take a seat on the sofa, and we'll invite some of your friends.
Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you, Pedro. And it's now a pleasure to introduce two certified B Corps. It's Christian Møller-Holst, CEO and founder of the Danish B Corp company Goodwings.com. And you're already sitting down. Excellent, Christian. I'll join you here. And you run the company, the Copenhagen-based company and platform, Goodwings. And also with us here we have Hannes. And Hannes Skughaal is Chief Mission Officer at Urbit. And you're responsible for commercial, operational, and also positive impact programs that support your mission, right?
That's correct.
And to deliver urban logistics services that create a positive impact on society and also on the environment. So what a team, huh? And what an introduction you gave, Pedro. Wonderful. It just felt like there is indeed hope and there is space for more companies to join you, right? So, Christian, please tell us about Goodwings.
Thank you, Katarina, and thank you, Hannes and Pedro, for sharing this moment with me. Goodwings is a response to the climate crisis, but it's also a response to what I would dare to say, the ignorance of an industry, the travel industry, which has shown very little, if any, leadership in the last 15, 20 years, ever since travel became digital. And the fact is, we have walked and traveled the earth ever since we migrated out of Central Africa 200,000 years ago. It's part of our nature to be mobile. But the problem is the scope and the way we travel is destroying our planet. So we have to find a way of dealing with that. So what we've chosen to do at Goodwings is to turn the industry into a force for climate action. Because when you look under the hood, online travel is not really travel, it's advertising. 70% of the revenues are being allocated to more TV commercials. So we say no, first and foremost. So what we do is we are hacking the industry. So we're introducing a membership fee that you can become a member as an individual or a business, and that's our revenue. And that makes us not rely on the bookings. So we are not in a position where we're promoting travel. We're not encouraging people to travel unless they have to. But we also acknowledge that you do have to travel sometimes as an individual, family, or business. So when you travel with us, you book your hotel on Goodwings, you have the same 1.5 million hotels and prices too. But we take the revenue and we invest that money in projects that are verifiably removing carbon from the atmosphere. So you can reach carbon neutrality or net zero with your travels. And if you're a business, we also provide emissions data and certifications and so on. So we cannot do this alone. So on one end, we have our clients, and I learned this morning that Urbit is a client of ours, so thank you for being part of our journey. Couldn't have a better way to kick off the day.
All right.
And if we are successful in having thousands or tens of thousands of businesses with us, we can reach our 2030 goal, which is to remove emissions from 1 billion trips. So if we deliver on this, and that will require 25,000 to 30,000 SMEs, which is not unrealistic. We'll be removing 0.8 billion tons of carbon. It's 16 times what Denmark is emitting in a year.
16 times
16
the
times
Danish emissions.
National emissions per year. So the power of the industry is immense, but they're using the power wrong. They're using it for obsolete commercials that they think will drive us back and are driving us back.
So basically, instead of ads, it's trees or other good projects
Instead of ads,
to draw down carbon.
At the moment, it's trees, nature-based removal, all verified. We're looking into biofuels, so we can avoid carbon to be emitted, and e-fuels and hydrogen and other solutions. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, Hannes, we're curious now, what does Urbit do?
Absolutely. First of all, I want to say big thanks for hosting us here today. It's an absolute honor to be here with you, Christian and Pedro. Brilliant. And yes, in fact, we're a client of Goodwings as of yesterday. I met with your sales rep, and halfway into the pitch, I basically said, well, you can stop right there. This is a no-brainer. Why should I say no? So yes, we're a client of Goodwings as of yesterday. Cheers for that, Christian. Urbit. So we are a B Corp certified last mile delivery business. Now, what that means is super straightforward. We're going to take any online purchase that you make, and we're going to deliver it to your door without using cars, vans, and trucks. In fact, we're going to rely completely on cargo bikes. Right?
Cargo bikes. Mm.
So I wake up every morning and I dream about removing cars, trucks, and vans from the streets of London, Paris, Madrid, and all of the other cities in which we operate. Now, what's really cool about Urbit, I think, is that we were founded on the premise that we want to be successful by doing good. Right? And it turns out that in urban transport, there is a massive opportunity, an important opportunity to do so. So why care? Why is it important? Right? If you look around you today, you're going to realize that anything you see in this room, including yourselves, has been transported in here today. Now, urban transport and roads, it's literally the bloodstream of our economy. However, it has a massive impact on our lives, an underappreciated impact on our lives. And I don't mean that in a positive way whatsoever, unfortunately. We're talking air quality, we're talking road accidents, we're talking greenhouse gas emissions, we're talking noise pollution, and the list goes on, right? And here's the main thing. The problem is growing exponentially.
Since the cities are growing.
That as well, but also people are demanding goods to be delivered to their home, and e-commerce is growing like crazy. So the last mile industry will double over the next 5 years. Meaning if we stay with the status quo right now, what you're going to see is the same old model, the delivery man in a van model, and our streets will not be able to cope, right? So that's the doomsday part of it, right? But what are the good news then, right? The good news number one, and I'm here talking about Urbit, obviously, that's a solution, not the only solution. But good news number one is that 50% of everything that is transported on the streets in cities today can be delivered with a cargo bike, with a smaller vehicle that gets rid of all of this problem, right? And here's the even cooler thing. Good news number two, it's more economically viable to do so, right? And that's the really interesting thing that I hope that we can talk about today as well, the whole paradigm that sustainability comes at a premium. And it doesn't. It's the main question I get in all pitches and all sales meetings. Well, we can't afford you because this is too expensive. It's not. It's not. Paying fair wages is more expensive. That's not a topic. But sustainability doesn't come at a premium, right? So what gives me a whole lot of hope is that when I'm looking over our sector in transport and a whole lot of other sectors as well, hearing from you two today, of course, is that we're actually seeing real solutions, solving real problems, and it's the core part of the business model. And if we can live by that, if we can adopt that as the way forward, then we're going to move from words to action. Yeah. And then we're onto something.
Absolutely. Just a short comment here. A friend of mine, she actually moved her entire apartment on a cargo, on a service like yours.
Oh, really?
Yeah, sofas and everything, beds.
That's a wonderful story. We should write something about that.
Bookshelves, everything.
I love that.
Yeah. And she was very happy with it too.
Yeah.
So, Pedro, when you hear a Goodwings story, an Urbit story, and when you connect it with value proposition, what are your thoughts here?
Well, we're all basically part of the same movement, and the same spirit is behind all of us, you see. And it's I would say it's new in these 50 years after Stockholm, and that suddenly business can elevate its purpose to be part of the solutions of society or of the planet. And we can basically build a collective legacy of solutions. You see, so one thing is that we act individually. Another thing is when we elevate our purpose. I mean, we have very similar purposes, but we belong to different industries. And we innovate in our business models and in our law. You see, it's a combination. As a Latin American, I must say something. It's the first time that I can connect my inner soul, my callings, with the core business and with the law. I don't know if this is applicable elsewhere, but it's the first time I can be myself, fully myself, through this kind of DNA.
That's wonderful. It really sort of resonates. I can tell when you talk about it. Christian,
could I just add to the
Sure.
to the value proposition? I think, as Hannes explicitly explained, and I hope I also did, I think there's an aspirational and functional value of companies offering products or services that are contributing to creating a better tomorrow. But I think also the value proposition is also the accessibility, that we're democratizing everyone's ability to become part of the solution. Because before it was policymakers or legislation or big companies, but now you see small and medium-sized companies, you see consumers voting with their wallet. And that interaction between your friend who deliberately chose to move her stuff in an urban way, this, I think, is part of the value proposition, that we're offering the access.
would you like to add, Hannes?
No, I think it comes back again to the sustainability premium, right? If you can remove that, then actually you have a service that is accessible to everybody, which is the way forward.
So a big question here, what does this really matter in the bigger picture? I mean, for people listening to this, what an impact can this have if more companies follow suit? What kind of leverage does this really have, Pedro?
Well, you have, first of all, I mean, business or companies are not alone in society. So for me, I would say they're the enabling lever for millions of people to also elevate their purpose while doing, trading or buying or investing or even learning education with a different logic. So it's a paradigm shift to start with. And that's what we need. I mean, we come from maximizing profit and minimizing cost. I mean, that's what we all come from, right? How we change that to maximize solutions through profit and by minimizing cost, of course. But it's a completely new way of doing it. So the cost becomes part of the opportunity for a new cycle. You see, circularity is very much associated to regeneration. So what I feel is that business is connected to the billions. And today we need the billions to be on a daily basis participating in this evolution. Because otherwise, I don't think we can make it.
But what you tell us, it is possible, indeed.
Yeah.
Yes, and that it's extremely hopeful. So Hannes, in terms of when you found the sort of the epiphany, the moment when you started this company or decided to work with it, when did you realize that this was really resonating with you, and what was it that made you feel this is really what I want to do?
Absolutely. I think an interesting story that many people in this room might experience as a consumer as well is that moment when you're actually ordering a couple of things online, right? And what might happen to you is that 3 different vans from 3 different companies will show up to the same door in the same day, right? That's 3 trips. And the tragedy here really is that all of these 3 companies are probably struggling with their profitability, right? It's a market that is driven by density, right? But they're all servicing the same area. So it's sort of the tragedy of the common here, right? And at the expense of our environment. So literally a sad moment, right? And the question there that I have as well to my esteemed panelists, right, is you're asking us, why does it matter? I think it matters because you're looking at companies here that literally believe in collective action, that believe in being brave and asking our government and asking ourselves, is there a better way forward here? Can we literally look at a city like Stockholm and say, you know what, this company will serve this area, right? And we're going to reduce the number of trips by half. And looking at other industries, it is an absolute no-brainer. If you look at e-scooters or mobile cellular masts or, let's say, fishing rights, it is a no-brainer that we look into collective action. And we need to do that in more industries. It's simple as that. It's the way forward.
Excellent, excellent, Hannes. And in terms of the differences between the northern and the southern hemisphere in this thinking, this process, you're in the travel industry more or less, Christian. Are there differences? And if not, what unites us?
When I visit the B Corps and participate in the events in the B Corp movement globally, it's universal. The willingness to participate and contribute is the same. I think, as we've talked about from time to time, is the things that I take with me when I visit continents like Latin America is the connectedness to Mother Nature. I think to some extent we've lost that in Western Europe, Northern Europe. It's a rational approach to the climate crisis. It's 1.5 degrees or 2.5 or etc. Whereas the appreciation of nature itself is something that the South can teach us, and probably a lot of other things as well. But the approach and the decision to take part is definitely universal.
What would you like to add, Pedro? I saw you wanted to add something.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, to be quite direct and bold, I'm part of the human project on Earth, and that means life on Earth. And I could have been born anywhere in the world, and the economy today seems to be one. And the DNA of the economic system, and let's face it, we call it capitalism, needs to evolve. And capitalism was driven by, if you want, without a bad purpose, but it was driven by greed. And how do we expand, if you want, this, from selfish interest to enlightened interest, where we include society and the planet. And that we do wherever throughout the world. And whatever we can learn from you, will be useful for us. It's inspirational. And, feeling part of this movement as a global movement is very, it's very, optimistic, because suddenly we can do, we can actually move forward. Actually, in Latin America, the cities have become very crucial in this move. Over 18% of the GDP, at least in Latin America, has to do with government procurement. So just imagine, the city of Mendoza in Argentina has approved 3 weeks ago a new regime for what we call triple impact procurement, public procurement.
Wonderful.
And that moves the market.
Oh, absolutely.
So, and the University of Mendoza, sorry for speaking about ourselves, the University of Mendoza, the business school, now teaches, you can graduate as a standard student, as an impact business administrator. And that makes us feel very good, because then we are training the people who are going to be working in the companies. And the whole thing starts moving in that direction.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all for sharing Goodwings and Urbit, your wonderful business examples. And of course, you talked about your beverage before. And the overall picture you painted for us, it's truly hopeful and engaging. And the world is listening. We have viewers from all over the world here. So just join the movement, right?
Yeah. Please.
Well, thanks again.
Thank you, Katarina.
Thank you.
We will now move on to focus on sustainable manufacturing, why climate-smart choices begin with the right configurator. And we start this session with a video to introduce us to this topic. It's now my pleasure to introduce Bo Gyldenvang from Tacton. He is CEO, and he's formerly COO of Software AG Americas. And Bo Gyldenvang is spearheading sustainable solutions for Tacton and other forward-thinking businesses as well. And is with us here, and please join me here on stage, Bo.
I'll do this one here.
And you have the floor, Bo.
What?
You have the floor. Okay.
I got it here. Okay, very good. Thank you. Yeah. So I'm actually quite excited to be here. 50 years ago, I had no hair either because I wasn't born. So, but it's amazing that this is 50 years ago. And just imagine that just a few years before that, the first man was doing the moonwalk in 1969, had a very nice view of the Earth to look at it as a kind of a single organism that was worth to preserve. And that's where we are today. So manufacturing industry is the foundation to today's society. Just look around you. I brought something here. But this is not how most of people think about it, since it's detached to the ordinary life for many. There's a limited number of products that are handmade or tailor-made without participation of upstream from raw material extractions and then manufacturing. However, manufacturing industry accounts today for approximately 20% of the global greenhouse gas emissions. And as we just heard earlier on the previous, 7% is from the steel manufacturing. That's around a third of whatever the industrial manufacturing is consumed of emissions. So it's only 8 years ago, it's only 8 years from now in 2030, where many organizations are aiming to reach their climate targets, aiming for carbon neutrality, and also a few even going for net positive impact. And just as a reminder, in late 2015, the world set 17 very ambitious sustainability development goals with some deadlines in 2030. Of course, business is part of the society, and we will contribute. This is a reason for many commercial organizations has 2030 as the deadline as well. I'm leading Tacton. It's a software company, headquartered here in Sweden, and we act between the industrial manufacturers and the buyers of their products. And actually, we have several of our customers on stage today, so which is also very nice to hear that. And our customers are, or they sell to end users, also public institutions, as we talked about, Department of Transportation, etc. We are the global leader in configure, price, quote software, and we assist manufacturers to implement and use configure, price, quote software, as we described in the intro. And CPQ is suitable for products that comes in many variances and configurations, very complex, large equipments, like, for example, this one. A truck could be a power station. It could be any kind of really large piece of equipment. Water pumps, elevators. So our vision at Tacton is to enable manufacturers to shape and build the future. Our goal is to have manufacturers to build more sustainable products and in return for that, get more sustainable societies. Configure, price, quote software have the possibility to show the differences in price and component selection for different configurations, different flavors of the same product. So you may think, why I'm here pitching a product, a piece of software product. The reason why I'm here is actually, we want to demonstrate, I think we all want, that we can all make a difference. And the value chain is so important to build into the whole picture when you're configuring a product. We are aiming to include environmental features into the software, eventually to also include the social aspect in the upstream supply chain when that is handled. The impact of using a CPQ solution is like what is achieved, for example, with an eco label in the private consumers, where you got the Energy Star, you got the Fair Trade, and so on. One of the aims is to make it simpler, more simple for buyers and end users to select products having environmental in mind. So the configurator enables informed choices, so the end user and the customers can actually make the right decisions on the right time, and not only to get the optimal price, but also to pick the right environmental product. We believe customers will demand to get the choice. It will not be a nice to have, it will be a need to have. And that's actually how we approach this. And you already see it today. You see it when you're buying an airline ticket, when you're buying a car, or you're buying a household electronics. You have that choice to pick a sustainable product versus another. Maybe it's slightly cheaper for the non-sustainable product, but you could also pick one that is more sustainable. That's what we want to drive into complex manufacturing. We also believe that the more transparent you become in pricing or your emission to produce a product from a life cycle perspective, we are going to drive innovation. We believe that manufacturers, when they are being extremely transparent, when they configure products, then they will have a way to optimize how they develop their products, because their customers will simply ask for more sustainable products. So we also believe this is going to drive much more innovation, simply just by putting transparency into how you quote to your customers. So what we are aiming for now is actually to have the 2030 goals, as I mentioned in the beginning, where we want to be able to sell more of the environmental best products. So actually, build in the whole value chain into when you price a product. To illustrate, for example, we have this product. There's a selection point where the end user can actually, for instance, ask for a certain level of recycled content. Could be a different kind of plastic, or it could be a different kind of metal that goes into that product. It will have different environmental impact. Our aim is to have the full life cycle built into the quoting and into the pricing of a product. And we want to have that displayed in the quoting system. So when you price for a customer, you can actually have full transparency, full visibility into this. So the resulting difference in price is one of the standard features in CPQ today. And as the circular economy takes off, recycled material should be better priced than the new ones, actually. If the feature compared was energy usage during the lifetime, for example, an electric engine versus a diesel engine, then that should be visible. We also believe manufacturers will move closer to the end customers. So that's also a trend we see in the market, where manufacturers start to sell their product as a subscription. Because manufacturers need to commit to the life cycle emission of a product. And they can only do that by moving closer to the product, closer to the end user, and manage that life cycle of the product. So, as an additional benefit for manufacturers, CPQ solution helps them with a compliance-related report that has to happen in the future as well. Manufacturers, they need to report and they need to measure themselves from a sustainability angle as well. By building it into the quoting system and the pricing system, you can actually have that reporting done automatically. That's our ambition as well, to build it into the CPQ solution. So, conclude, so before we go into our panel, let me just emphasize that manufacturing is the base of most things in the modern society today. It causes a big part of the global greenhouse gas emissions, impacting the climate. And let smart technology like the one we provide enable those that select the escalators or the mobile infrastructure that we use to broadcast this session as well. But enable those to watch online to do so, to enable buyers of industry products to make the best choices by articulating the environmental impact of their choices. Now, Katarina, I think we got a panel now.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Bo. Please take a seat in the chair over there, and you'll be joined by some colleagues here or some other experts. Madeleine Bijram, Tacton Sustainability Manager, please join me here on stage. Irene Campo-Gay, Technical University Denmark, PhD student, will also be joining us. And Ksenia Gabajenka, PlusPack Group Sustainability Manager. And they will be with us via Zoom. So let's see if we can turn around and watch your colleagues or other experts here. There they are. Excellent. Welcome, both of you. Maybe, Bo, if you want to sit in that chair, you can see a little bit better. You don't have to twist your entire torso to see this. So great to have you with us here. I'll give you a little bit of a better introduction here. Madeleine, you're a sustainability manager at Tacton, and you're exploring how sustainability can be a facilitator and be realized in all your manufacturers and how they move towards what Bo mentioned, a more circular economy. Yep. And Irene, as a PhD researcher at the Technical University of Denmark, you're specialized in product configuration systems and also mass customization solutions. Correct. Excellent. Yes. And Ksenia, you're a group sustainability manager at PlusPack, leading strategic projects with a focus on sustainability in line with circular economy. So terrific. So I'd like to start with you joining us here on Zoom. How do you see, after having listened to Bo here, the configurator, it's a difficult word, configurator, to enable more sustainable manufacturing in the industry? Would you like to start, Ksenia?
Yeah, sure, I can do that. First of all, thank you for your invitation for this very exciting topic. I would actually say I completely agree with what already mentioned by the previous speaker. Configurator is the way the future is going to be done with regards to digitalization and integration with sustainability. We do already apply the CPQ in our manufacturing process or in our product design process. And we can see all the advantages of being able to show the customers the solutions, the possibilities they can choose from, and also the kind of already environmental impact that is associated with those. And we can also see that this is also the way they are requesting it to be done. They want to get facts, they want to get data, they want to get this transparency, not only on pricing, not only on the physical features, but actually what it means to produce this product. So I agree, this is the way forward, and this is completely in line what PlusPack is also going to achieve, is actually to integrate this configurator in the sustainability progress.
Well, thank you very much. How about you, Irene? What is your take on this aspect of transforming the industry?
Yeah, so first I want to say it's a pleasure to be here with you today. And yes, it's certain what you were saying now. Configurations, I believe they will play a very significant role, as they have already been doing in certain other aspects. But now with the sustainability assessment side of configurators, we will be able to assess customers and to guide them into more sustainable solutions. But also we will be able to automate the process of environmental impact quantification and even automate the certified impact quantifications. So we will be able to use standardized and digitalized ways of calculating environmental impact.
Thank you very much, Irene. I'm turning now to you, Madeleine. Your thoughts after having listened to Bo and to Irene and to Ksenia.
I think it's really, this is the right time. Because as Bo said, that the manufacturing industry has such a huge impact, I mean, both for good and, of course, the way we use things that are manufactured, but also on the environment. So this is the right time to kind of move from, because I've been working before with dual-use products, both consumer and professional products, and for these we see today the type of declarations that articulate the environmental impact when you use it and so on. And you mentioned a few of those labelings, so to say. And I think the CPQ system can articulate at the right point in time environmental features and the difference between two very similar configurations. So I think the timing is right, and I really enjoyed listening to both of our speakers here also, mentioning transparency, for instance, that it brings transparency.
That is key, yeah, absolutely. So, Bo, maybe a more complicated question here. The challenges with getting the benefits from the CPQ, an ordering tool where the environmental features for different product configurations are shown. What are the challenges here at hand?
Well, first of all, some of the challenges we face to build these functionalities into the solution is we need to get a little bit more clarity on the regulations. Because that's going to drive much of the behavior and what of the data that we need to provide. So regulations are definitely something we want to get absolute clarity about. Then the next challenge is to get the data. Because imagine we work with customers who have millions or billions of different components that they need to manufacture or configure into one product. And you can probably imagine the many variances they can build, and to build that exact number based on all these different variances means that we need to have data on every single component. So you can understand both the emission of producing the product, but also the life cycle impact of that specific configuration. And that to get that data into the solution as well. That these are the two things that we are working with. There are solutions, and there is we can see that it's coming on both of those challenges, but this is what we deal with right now.
I can tell, Ksenias, you're nodding up there. Do you recognize these challenges?
Completely, because not because we have already the sustainability parameter in the CPQ, but these are the challenges we are facing already now when we talk to the customers. We're selling to more than 50 countries around the world, and each and individual country, they have these different regulations. So if we will be able to combine everything in one tool and do it so customer specific as possible, that would be great. And in addition to that, data, yes, it's not easy to get access to all the data. But again, we can start just where we are. It's the generic databases which are available. It's already good. And I think, again, we don't have to be afraid to be transparent in this case and say, this is what we're using as a data. Let's just start there, because the direction will be anyway clear, and then you can still work on that. So just keep it very transparent and easy until this is what we have, and we are working on it. But I agree, these are two very, very big challenges we are facing as well.
Thank you very much. Irene, from your researcher perspective, how does this sound? Do you recognize the challenges, and do you maybe even have some data on it?
Yes, definitely. I mean, it's this possibly lack of data that might seem challenging in this kind of projects. But at the same time, it's this new legislation and new laws that we're expecting, new recommendations that we're expected to take place very soon, the ones that will also drive the development of this data and that will make this kind of projects possible. And through them also, we need to establish a clear goal of the project, and as Ksenia was saying, we just need to get started with something, and then from there be evolving and get a more complete project.
Thank you very much. Yes, please go ahead.
Regarding challenges, I think also it's important. The users, I mean, the people that are using the CPQ to configure whatever they want to buy, they are used to having like very precise data. The price is precise, the measurements are precise to the inch or the centimeter, and then hope to be able to show them, the environmental impact, but that's not going to be precise. So from the user perspective, there is a challenge to kind of, it's difficult to make them, accept this, maybe. I see this as from a user perspective.
And what solutions are we looking at here?
Well, I guess that as the data becomes better and better, we can say that the quality of the data is better and better. But that's a kind of a common effort from research and from industry because all of these data comes from databases and all of the different players cooperate to bring data to these databases, and with time, they're going to be more and more, precise also.
So I have sort of a more overall question here. Why now? Why not earlier? Would you like to start, Bo?
Well, there's definitely much momentum right now. So that's that. So a lot of people are listening to this. So that drives a lot of the agenda. But I also believe that I can say from our perspective, we are now at a point of time where the solution from our side is so sophisticated now that we can literally on the fly, when you configure a product, immediately both visualize the impact when you change a product, but you could also, if you change one component, what is the price difference? And just imagine that you at the same time could get the sustainability impact in runtime. So you sit there in front of your screen and you're literally building a power plant. You're buying a new truck for 100,000 euros, and you can literally visualize, and you can get the price, and you can get the environmental impact of your choices instantly.
So
that's where
really
we are today.
Upstream. It's really upstream. It's in the design phase even.
The what? Sorry?
It's upstream. It's already in the design phase. You don't have to make the mistakes because you see them.
The thing is that we are now at a state you cannot make mistakes, but we just need 100% transparency, and we need to make it available for the end users and the customers to make deliberate choices about how much do they want to invest, and how is this going to impact their sustainability goals. And that's where we are now. So actually, when we got the data and we have the regulations in place, we are so close to actually deliver this nirvana, which is a dream for us to be able to deliver to our customers.
So I'm turning to you, Irene. What if we look at a global perspective, if we really get this going fully, what impact can this have, well, for the planet? It's a big question.
Very huge impact, isn't it? I mean, through this kind of tools, we can make this sustainability information available to the customers. That it's what they are demanding, and they are demanding this because there hasn't been such a great focus in sustainability before, right? So it's this, and in my opinion, also this new demand on getting new assessment tools in order to reach these new levels or new objectives towards sustainable regulations. So we need some kind of assessment tools, such as configurators, that will guide us in this.
And it's about credibility and also about transparency. Ksenia, you addressed the topic transparency before. Would you like to elaborate what this can entail, this configuration tool, in terms of transparency?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, the transparency in itself can be quite vulnerable. Bo has mentioned that before, and you have also mentioned yourself, is that not everyone is so keen to show actually what it means to produce one another product, both in cost of in pricing or the materials. The pricing is also always vulnerable, but when you go and talk about the carbon footprint or CO2 emissions, here it becomes even more sensible, because especially some of the materials, and you know that many of the manufacturers, they know that the metals, they are quite high in CO2 emissions. And by showing that directly to the customers, even maybe without that filter, can be quite, wow, it's a bit challenging, but you need to actually learn to handle it. You need to learn to talk to it. You need to explain why it's necessary to go through all the steps, not only concentrating on the materials, even though we know that 70 or 80% of the CO2 emissions is already locked in the design phase. You really need to do the talking. You choose the material, but you have also to look into the complete life cycle analysis, as it also already was mentioned, and really do the education, if you can say so, because at the end of life, these very high or very carbon emitting materials, they actually will play a major role, and it will be a very good for environment. But we just need to learn to tackle it. It's a bit challenging, and we can also see it in our company that not everyone is comfortable about this showing the real emissions about the raw materials, the real consequences of the CO2 emissions. But we just need to do that. We can't hide from it. It's something that we need to be quite transparent and just, try to educate everyone. It's a language we need to be aware of.
And also the customers are demanding it more and more, correct?
Exactly. And then maybe just doing it together with the customer can be also a bit challenging when you're so transparent, because they can ask you some questions, you have to answer the questions, and it's a challenging task, but they're demanding it. You're right. I mean, from our experience, we can already see that customers are asking for the specific numbers. And it's not only on already produced items, but also on what they're going to order. So it's there to stay.
It's like a dance, moving nicely together forward into the sunset.
Exactly.
Boom.
Let me like to add a bit on that, because
please go.
That demand is coming. And to many instances, there already. So there are public institutions that won't buy anything from companies that can't give that transparency.
It's procurement rules.
Procurement, yeah. Just imagine that if you're selling a solution and you're saying to a customer, this is the best solution for you, but I can't give you the price because I don't know. Would you buy that?
Probably not.
No. And you're going to see the same on sustainability. If you can't answer that question, they will not buy from you. And when you're in these really large installations of huge equipment that has a huge impact on the environment, it has to be there as well.
And also now we're counting all the scopes and the race to zero and all the calculations. We need to be able to follow it all the way to the end, right?
Exactly.
So, Madeleine, will this be applicable for all types of industries or just certain industries?
I think the thinking is, of course, applicable to articulate the environmental features when you do at the point of decision point, so to say, and then it depends on our solution is aimed for the more complex products. So
such as, for instance, a truck or like a water pump or like the heat exchanger over here on stage, and so on. So these type of products. So it will be for all, but of course the way to come to the state where a customer can see the difference. That's the different paths to come to that. And that's why we see for products that are smaller and simpler and more, not as complex, maybe it's easier to get this information today.
But we also see that the trend is that customers want more specific products now. So they want, not necessarily customized, but they want it to be tailor-made for their needs. And that's not easy. And that's why having a standard product where you got the standard data, you can provide the data for that. But the minute you start to change a little bit, it's a mess. And we need to figure that out as well. Otherwise, we can't make deliberate choices. So
last question here in this talk about transparency and data, and how do we address collaboration in this transition? Because what you're mentioning here is there is a big need for collaboration, not to make it too messy, right?
No, but there is a big need. And actually, some of the experience we have when we speak to our customers is that we speak to the team that runs the pricing and the quoting so that's the sales part. Then we speak to the sustainability team. They don't know each other. So just by bringing them into the same room, they suddenly figure out we have some shared interest here. And by putting, and that we've seen that a few times, that suddenly then it just starts going because they can easily see it. But we are talking about huge corporations here where they need to get together, and we are happy to facilitate that. But I'm sure sooner or later they will find each other.
They need to configure their work too, right?
Yeah, yes. We probably need to do that.
Well, thank you so much, Madeleine. Thank you very much, Bo, Ksenia, and Irene, for joining us here and shedding light on this interesting and important topic. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now we move on to the UNDP Hour, which will be moderated by Victor Gallas, Deputy Director, Stockholm Resilience Centre. So I hand it over to UNDP.
Hello and welcome to the UNDP Hour